Catus Maximus here. This time it's a shorter or quicker review of the Icon half-inch drive straight handle ratchet. I was a little worried of actually buying these online, I should say, because of the issues of the difference in ratchet mechanisms between what's in the flex heads. They were trying to meet a certain price target, and they used just a bit cheaper of a mechanism in there versus the straight handles, which are actually pretty worth it. This ratchet was $40 on the shelf. I just wanted to be able to easily return it because when you look online, you get this photo, which is kind of odd. You get a ratchet like this, which is rounded, but the switches are actually different. Indeed, this half-inch straight handle is like the others, where it is the good mechanism, but the picture is more of this one. And the big difference is I did do an Icon versus Icon video, and comparing both the mechanisms, and there are different. The pawls are bigger in these. There's a stop in the switch, so when you move the switch back and forth, even if you put pressure on it, it doesn't interfere with the mechanism and doesn't put stress on the actual spring that's running the ratchet. In addition to having a nice little O-ring around the switch, this switch doesn't have an O-ring or anything like that. And these I thought were an okay price. They were trying to sell this half-inch one. They had that 3/8 recall, which I have not heard anything about since, but they did give me this as the upgrade. They were just hitting too low of a price target on the shelf for this unit. And actually, I was using this at a junkyard, and I had, in my Icon versus Icon video, I had mentioned where the stop on this switch is literally the little pin that's running the ratchet pawl. And I had my hand on top of it, and I should do a quick example here. And had some pressure on the switch, broke the bolt, was going back, and still had pressure on it. And the easiest way to show it is the ratchet started freewheeling, and I wasn't expecting it, and pushed forward and bonked my head on the side of the car, because if you put pressure on the switch, it binds the little mechanism, and the ratchet doesn't work. And I thought, that's pretty darn annoying and could actually cause somebody to become injured in a particular awkward situations in which you would be using long handle ratchets. You're using them to get a lot of force on the flex head in an awkward situation. So the straight handle ones really are worth it. And for $40, this thing is great. It has a totally different mechanism that really is truly reliable. The pawl itself is physically larger than it is in this one. Really pretty excellent. The only kind of takeaway I could make of this ratchet would be is that this must be the long handle version. They're advertising like 12 3/4 inches, almost 13 inches. So this would be like an intermediate or a semi or an extended handle straight ratchet. And I kind of, maybe they will come out with a normal size one or a traditionally sized one like they did with the 3/8, but to show as an example, we've got a Duralast, which I consider just like a standard length half-inch ratchet. We have the Icon there. I should push this forward here. And then we have, you can't even see, there we go, this Proto long handle. So long story short, the straight handle ones are really nice, but you got to watch out for the Icon flex heads. These are an upgrade to the Pittsburgh Professionals. But I wouldn't say that they're really competitively professional. Only the straight handle ones are. And those, I'm going to kind of say that maybe stay away from the flex head Icons, just because that issue, it can be dangerous, just outright. They really need to put this mechanism in here because these switches have a built-in stop once again, so it doesn't affect the ratchet mechanism. And I was thinking that these switches were cast zinc, but I actually believe they may be aluminum, because this Proto does indeed have cast zinc, and you can see that kind of off gray color, where these switches really do look like they are cast aluminum. But what I mean by these are getting to be professional grade, but they're really not quite on the level, say, as this Proto, because the Proto, they do a recess on the switch. Of course, the V-groove is what they use as a stop. That's because when you're using it, Proto really, a lot of their sales are actually to industrial environments. When you go to an oil refinery plant, they have a lot of Proto tools in those maintenance shops, and they get really beat up and have gotten a lot of feedback from their industrial customers. So, of course, we have a flush switch, which is less likely to get broken. We have, of course, cross-bolted. Harbor Freight doesn't appear to be selling rebuild kits. They're just swapping these out and then rebuilding them in-house, which is kind of disappointing. Of course, the Proto has knurling, which I do like. And this trend on these ratchets of having squared off handles is also something I'm not appreciating, because if you're in certain situations, especially when you're pushing forcefully and your hand's on the end of the ratchet, that's a sharp edge. And eventually you'll know that you're pressing hard on it. Where like on this Proto, it's rounded over. So anyway, that was my quick, relatively quick review of this Icon. You know, the ball, I do like that they're using a nice large size ball detent in them. It has a nice strong detent. And I definitely won't be picking up any more Icon flex heads. But I think these straight ratchets really are worth it. They have a huge pawl. It's surprising. It's almost 25% larger in there if you look up my Icon versus Icon video. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody watching and subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.